Like, don't at me.
Don't at me. Goddamn. Don't at me. Don't at me.
Don't at me. Episode 48.
Right.
Just two of us today. What's up, Joc?
Not much, man. Just enjoying, this Sunday, these football games, even though I said I'm not going to watch the NFL, but I've been watching it. Not even going to lie.
Yeah, I hear you. So, Chance is in Memphis right now, visiting with some family, doing his worst impression. Gary, watching the Texans. Hey, can't blame him. We scheduled this for when we could, and, I get it. If we were recording during Brady time, I probably would be hard to catch too. But hey, we're here. Got your point guard in the house, Mike Silva, rocking the Eagles TO jersey. Right after. It's funny. I realized I'm wearing this today after they got smashed. Last week I wore the Bucks after they lost. It's like I'm creating like bad karma. Like if Silva's wearing the jersey, that team lost that day probably.
You were coming to Charles Barkley of NFL.
I guarantee what the Nuggets needs to do is,
Yeah.
All right. So jumping in today, we were talking a little bit about, sports and just kind of this world that we've been in. A topic that we've brought up on the podcast numerous times, which still an evergreen topic. We can talk about this in another 50 episodes, and it'll still be as relevant. Sadly, I wish it wouldn't be, which, the point for us bringing it up is to try to influence change and have people think a little bit beyond the current events, think about the big picture, right? So today, the big topic is going to be tribalism. With sports upon us, got NBA playoffs getting into the thick of things. We've got football back. We've got baseball playoffs going to be starting up here soon. So, a lot of going on with sports. On top of sports, you've also got a very tenuous political landscape. If you look at kind of I'm going to butcher the explanation of this, but I saw an explanation or a graph that showed how far apart right and left really are, and going back, Bush days and, even the Obama era, it was still pretty close. There wasn't a whole lot of a delta between the two areas. Now we're as spread apart as we've ever been. It always comes back to tribalism, right? We've talked about blindly standing for my side versus your side and, doing things that are divisive, trying to create, a me versus you mentality instead of okay, I'm over here, you're there, and I respect your beliefs and your thoughts and your fanship, your fandom. But now it's, because of social media, because of this world that we're in, we really just don't have a lot to bitch about. So I think we find every little thing to complain about, and starting with sports. I mean, that's been going on everywhere. I find myself, without sports since we're March through August with no sports. And I'm somebody I've always watched, been passionate about. My team loses, it ruins my day, week, month. If my team loses in the playoffs, I'm feeling like shit until the next season's playoffs, and you find this hate building for teams that are succeeding. Look, I'm a self-pronounced hater in a lot of cases, right? Like I'm anti-Chiefs, anti-Mahomes, because that's not my tribe. My tribe is Brady. Wherever Brady goes, he's my tribe leader, right?
Yeah, shout out to the Bucks.
Anybody that succeeds outside of that, I'm kind of like, you know what, fuck that guy, right? But it's ridiculous. You scroll on Twitter, Instagram, Skip Bayless is a funny one, right? I'm on Twitter during the games, just kind of seeing what people are saying. And I think a lot of that has to do on the sports side, at least, us getting away from journalism and really just speculation. If you look at Skip, it's just, oh, great, the Cowboys won today. And, this and that and this and that, just open with the allegiances. Hey, here's my tribe. You just read through the comments and it's just awful, ugly, just back and forth, just people bashing each other.
Yeah, hardcore.
And that's kind of where now, what is the big call to action? Why are we having this conversation? I guess with this, it's make your tribe more inclusive, right? But I don't know. I know I went on a long soliloquy here, a
Right.
long monologue, but wanted to tee it up. But I don't know. Where are you at with all this, Joc?
Yeah, man. So with tribalism, I don't know. My definition of it may be a little bit different, like so to speak, and that's probably why when we were talking in the group chat, it was like some kind of not a debate, but just like communication issues. Yeah, and so I was bringing up the whole sex, like physical attraction, that ties into tribalism as well. As far as like, and I'm talking about guys here, because I know we had we did a question on our IG where like, hey, do we feel that men are care about the physical attraction more, or does women, And so ironically, it was 50-50, to my surprise, like, damn, okay, but I thought men personally, because we do, at least from my own opinion, like care about the physical feats more, such as like ass, titties, like whatever. That's the first thing like we look at when we're holding the door open for somebody or whatever the case may be. You're gonna try to peep to see like what her body looks like, and then vice versa. Some women do the same thing. They see, shoulders or whatever they're attracted to, And so yeah, so the tribalism thing. So basically, I was reading this article that said sexual selection and tribalism goes hand in hand, and it actually intensifies tribalism, And so that's what I was trying to actually like explain. And then when I read the article, it's like it didn't say anything about physical attraction, per se. Just talking about like other like facets of things. But I thought physical attraction, because we're not gonna like want to hook up with somebody if we're not somewhat physically attracted to them. I mean, it's off rip. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not gonna like fuck or talk to anything that's like this with legs, And so like that's what I was trying to say in the actual like conversation that we were having. You know what I mean? And so that to me, I don't know, tribalism is like, in a sense, like you said, like we all stand for something and like fuck everything else. I feel like most of us do stand for like dating or talking to somebody that's attractive. Like that in itself is tribalism too, So yeah.
Well, and it's an interesting point that you make about, tribal pressure too, right? Because me, people clown on me for having a couple of different allegiances in sports.
Yeah.
What I would chalk it up to is right when I got into football, there was no Houston team. So I gravitated towards my favorite player, Jerry Rice, became a 49ers fan, right when I started liking him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, well, I got to have some rooting interest in the playoffs so I care. Brady always beat the teams I hated. So, all right, I love Brady, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the Texans come along. Okay, now I like the Texans because it's the home team. They're not my favorite, but, I support them. I want them to win. Now Brady goes to the Bucs. Now I'm like, well, kind of pulling for the Bucs. My favorite team's still the Niners. But the reason I bring all that up is peer pressure. If you think about people within your tribe, oh, well, I can't claim that I'm a 49ers fan because people will then point at, oh, what about your love for, Brady and Belichick and Houston? Like, what's up with that, right?
Yeah.
The reason I bring it there is tribalism. One of the bigger things there is a lot of peer pressure, or really just pressure from within your tribe to follow a certain set of morals, set of actions, set of preferences. Bringing it back to a race thing, when you look at interracial relationships, a lot of the times those can't happen, and I'm saying that in quotes because they always can happen, but because of pressure from within your tribe, so to say,
your family, right?
Can't get outside it, right? So that's where I guess the whole topic kind of comes full circle: sports, relationships, politics, all of it. But the big thing within tribalism, what makes it so strange, is that we're all so influenced by what other people say from within our tribe.
Right. And I agree, definitely. And that's, you brought up a good point as far as like we need to be more inclusive, be more open-minded, and know that, hey, it's more than like one tribe or one way of thinking. You know what I mean? Just like, it's a big world we live in, like, yeah, we're going to have different biases on different things, but if it's like affecting you in a way where you're being negative or being like really extremely mean about interrelational dating, sports team, like whatever, to the point to where it's like, man, it's kind of fucked up. Because we know when we're saying fucked up stuff, we're doing something that's not right. You need to like kind of dial it back a little bit and say, hey, like, let me rethink how like I'm approaching the situation. I know it's not going to be overnight, but just like you said, think deeper. That's the whole point of this podcast, for us to make you guys like think a little bit deeper when you're doing different things. And tribalism, like I said, that's and something that's tied into everything, whether you agree with it or not. That's what we were founded on, you know, like human, like us, you know. So
Right.
definitely, man.
Well, and some of the concerns with tribalism, again, it brings a lot of hate. It can bring a very me against you, as opposed to, you know, pro me. Hey, you're there, I respect you, but I'm still pro me. I mean, I think that's fine. I don't want to take away from saying you should have pride in who you are. You should back your tribe, you know, and even if you're just looking at your family as a tribe, family comes first. But that doesn't always mean family's right every time, you know. And when you find yourself with this constant just, hey, it's me versus you, it's my tribe, you know, you kind of turn on blinders to other perspectives, kind of like you mentioned with bias. A lot of the time people seek out that, you know, they seek people to kind of confirm what they're saying. They're seeking that confirmation bias, saying, hey, I'm right, let me go find this answer. See, look, other people in my tribe say I'm right. You know, they're saying the same things. It helps to understand the other perspective of things. You know, when you think about creativity, how people use, you know, drugs or alcohol or coffee or even cigarettes, nicotine, to kind of stir up creativity. The reason why is it makes you step out of your conventional way of thinking. You don't have that conventional wisdom. You start to think in a very different way. You know, humans were very logic driven. When you drink, kind of cut some of the logic off and look at things from another perspective. You know, tribalism kind of locks you in to say, hey, this is the one way that you can think. You can't think any differently from this. And that's when you have a lot of, you know, button of the heads, because it's constantly my opinion matters more than yours. You're wrong. I'm right. You know, and instead of us looking for that middle ground, that nuance, that gray area, it's constantly black and white, you know. And again, I say it extends to sports. You know, fuck your team, man. Yeah, you know.
Speaking of that, bro.
Politics, you know, there's so many people on the right that refuse to even listen to what the left's saying, and vice versa. You know, it's almost like on the left, if you hear of somebody that's voting for Trump, they've got a scarlet letter. They're just automatically out. You know, I mean, we bring this guy up a lot, but Kanye, you know, he might be kind of loopy, might be crazy, but he was right. You know, I saw him on a Letterman. This was way back, but he was on, you know, the Letterman show on Netflix, kind of giving piece on why he voted Trump and why he supports Trump. At the end of the day, he said, look, it's my opinion. Like, just move on. You know, like, that's how I feel.
Like, why do people care so much?
Sway you from how you feel.
Right. Facts. I agree. And it's like, why do people care so much? But the crazy part about why people care so much is because celebrities are actually looked at as more of an important figure than a president or people that's in politics. You know, people actually listen to them first before they listen to politicians. Just like when Kylie Jenner, they had to reach out to her to help people wear masks for COVID. Remember that? When she tweeted like, and hey, y'all guys wear masks, and people start wearing masks more because of that. You know, so it is crazy, man. Then the whole, you know, back to what you were saying about like the whole fuck you and all that. Eagles fans, you know, you're wearing the jersey right now, but Eagles fans are some of the most hardcore fans, man. Like, I haven't been to Eagles game myself per se, but I know a lot of people that actually like are Eagles fans and they've been to games, and shit gets wild. If you're like in the division, like, you know, if you're Cowboys fans or like Redskins, like, man, you go to a game and you're by yourself, you may get like, I don't know, man. I'm not gonna say like a fight's gonna happen, like for sure, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like something bad's gonna come from that situation. And it goes back to the point of us being so tribal to the point to where we feel like we gotta be like, I don't know, like endanger somebody or just get physical. And to me, it's like, I understand having the camaraderie and like the, you know, like prideness of your team or whatever it may be. But when it gets to the point to where you feel like you have to be physical, you know, that's when I'm like, all right, you know, that's why I say everybody should be more open-minded and think on a broader scale. You don't want to hurt people, like, you know, in all seriousness, you know what I mean? So.
Right. It's funny you mentioned that because I do know that, like, you know, Bay Area Raiders, Niners fans, I mean, people straight up getting hemmed up at the game for rooting for somebody else, you know? Right. It's ridiculous. Like, at the end of the day, here's the funniest part about sports. I'm passionate about sports. I love sports. I get pissed off my team loses. I get pissed off when the team –
Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
We all do, you know? But at the end of the day, it's just people playing a game, you know? You're either – if it's football – you have this weird shaped ball. You got to just move it from here into this weird little zone. You
Right.
know, people are flying, 20 miles an hour, bumping into each other full speed, blowing each other's heads off. Basketball, we're watching people take a ball and put it into a hole.
Oh, yep.
It's so stupid when you deduce it down to that. But I want to stop on something that you mentioned with masks, right?
Mhm.
And I've had this conversation with people plenty. I've done a lot of flip-flop, and we've had a lot of arguments, full-on arguments within, our
Yeah,
crew
that's right.
about COVID, about masks and all this. But, if you were to tell me a year ago, hey, Mike, there's going to be a global pandemic, that's all I'll tell you. What are you going to do, Mike? Well, I would think about it for a minute, and then the most logical thing that would come to mind right away is, well, we should probably all wear masks. We should probably all kind of keep our space from each other. Those are just logical answers, right? Those are just cause and effect. People get sick when they're in close proximity to each other. They cough, they sneeze. We've always heard about cover your cough, cover your sneeze, wash your hands. Now it's like people have to be reminded, even though we should have been doing this all along. But the tribalism thing comes down to, okay, that's a logical scientific response. Whether you think COVID is that big of a deal or not, it's, hey, wear a mask, keep your space. But then all of a sudden that becomes political, just like global warming. All of a sudden it's, okay, this side thinks this side thinks that. So instead of thinking about the facts, thinking about it logically, thinking about it with just conventional wisdom, it's, oh, well, my side says this, so, nah, I can't take that because you're on that side. It's such a unilateral way of thinking. And you see, like, the case numbers, again, like, Texas is not, doing great. And I'm talking about this after the Texans stadium in Houston is empty. Dallas Cowboys Stadium, Dallas, 4 hours north, loaded with people, and I mean, it's just, I don't know. The tribalism thing, it comes back to just think outside of your own, right? Think about the other side, think about the other perspective. Don't blindly follow one cause just because you're looking for confirmation bias.
Yeah, just think for yourself, and I agree, and that's what we got to get back to, thinking for ourselves. If 2020 hasn't taught you guys anything, please think for yourself, like, going forward, until like the next years, next months that's coming, because, we're not out of the woods yet. 2020 is still here. You know what I mean? I know percentages are going down with these cases, but still just be smart about stuff, and I'll just leave that at that, because I don't want to get on the COVID thing, because we talked about that enough, but yeah, tribalism, man, it's crazy, just, I don't know, just something that we were born into, really. Think about it, like, we're born, like, if you're born a certain color, you're already kind of born into like a certain tribe. People are going to already like see you a certain way just because of your skin color, Right. So it goes deep, man.
It does, man. That groupthink is a scary thing, I mean, I think I might have even mentioned this last episode. Think about when you're in a class and they go, all right, any questions? And you're kind of surveying the group and you're like, all right, well, the tribe seems fine. I don't want to break things up and say, actually, I didn't get that. Can you explain that? I have some questions.
Yeah.
Everybody seems all right. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm good. I got it. But one person says, actually, I have a question. Then all of a sudden you see
hands. Yeah, because like the confidence boost comes up a little bit more. And the funny thing about that too, man. So speaking of the tribalism thing, because that's what we're talking about. This is because, you have a certain, I guess, tribe that you're in, or whatever the case may be. You have to, the other people in that tribe feels like you have to act a certain way, or you're not really a part of our tribe. I'm gonna bring myself, for example, right now. I've been told so many times in my life, bro, like, you don't act like a normal black person or regular black person. Like, that's not how you're supposed to act. It's not how you're supposed to dress. Your clothes are too tight, too colorful. You talk too proper. Who do you think you are? And it goes back to that tribalism, like, oh, this is something different that I'm not used to. But once again, just because it's something different that you're not used to doesn't mean you gotta like bash it. But once again, at human nature, we talk about and fear something that's unknown to us, and so, but that goes back to tribalism. Once again, like, if you're not like us, you're against us, and then that brings you to my point of the all-inclusive, like, hey, we still can be a part of the same tribe, but not think the same. That makes sense, that doesn't make us any more different just because we think differently. That makes sense,
100%. And I mean, I guess kind of tying it back full circle, be proud of who you are, be proud of your tribe, but don't let people tell you, hey, you're in this tribe. This is the way you have to be.
Have to be, exactly, yeah.
Think outside of the tribe. Think of yourself, and people always want to, look down or try to push away the devil's advocate because it's somebody saying, hey, your conventional way of thinking might be flawed. Have you considered this other perspective? And so many people just want the easy route, like, but my way or the highway, like, I don't care what the other side is. A lot of the time you think about the other side, you don't necessarily have to agree with that other side, but at least understanding where people are coming from, you get more context, you understand the intent, and if you are one of those that looks at it and says, oh, well, they're thinking based off of groupthink, then you kind of have that rational filter to pick up when, you're able to identify that a little bit more. So, I guess if we're making a call to action here, it's think outside of the tribe, think about your own, think for yourself, I guess is the simplest way to say it, right, Joc?
Think for yourself and like treat people how you want to be treated. I know it's very cliche, but please don't be rude or just say stuff that you wouldn't want said to you, because most of the time when we're doing that, we don't realize it until after the fact or it's too late. That person doesn't want to really be bothered with you anymore, and so brings up a good point too. We often say stuff, when we're upset or like, and like not the right mind frame. And sometimes we can't react right away. Even though I feel like, most of us think that, hey, we have to say something or respond. Nah, give it a couple days or give it when you can think clearly, don't go back to the whole tribalism thing. Like, oh, fuck you. Like, nah, just take time to really think about the message you're trying to convey to whoever, Well,
very important. Yeah, I mean, I think the world we're in now demands an answer right away. Hey, we need to know your stance immediately. No, you don't. Give me some time. Let me breathe. Like, let me sleep on it. There's a reason they say sleep on it. Your brain goes in and packages new information and puts it into different channels and different parts of your brain so that you can actually think about it in a logical and sometimes emotional or non-logical way. You just see things from multiple perspectives. Sleep on it, that's a really good point.
Yeah, because when chicks, I'm not gonna say chicks, when women see me with another race woman, they automatically get mad just off top. Not even like knowing me or like knowing her, they get upset, and it's like, why are you so mad? I get it, trust me, because I had plenty of talks. I'm a black man, I'm very prideful. But some people feel like, okay, for you to be pro something, and I'm gonna, mention me, for example, right now, I'm very pro-black, that I have to be with a black woman or I'm not pro-black. I don't agree with that. I understand where they're coming from, but I don't agree with it. You know what I mean? Which is fine, but it's like, goes back to the whole, like you said, think for yourself, don't group think just because everybody else feels that way. Like, how do you truly feel? And then like, if you actually meet the person, you may find it like, whoa, she's really dope. Black, white, yellow, like whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, try to actually get to know the person first, before just because like the color. So.
Well said, and very good points.
Yeah.
So this is actually a pretty good segue into our next segment, the At Me segment, where we touched on a little bit, talking about who cares more about looks, men or women. So we'll dive into that here in just a minute. Before we do that, I did want to take a time to give us a quick shameless plug. Repertoire Network is our network of podcasts, plural. We've got the flagship with Don't At Me, but, we're wanting to get Play It By Ear up and running a little bit more. So definitely be on the lookout for that. We have some other pods that are in development. I'll keep them quiet. This way people don't say when. We don't know when just yet. But we've also got a lot of products. If you check out the website, www.therep.network, go to the merchandise tab. You'll see Don't At Me shirts, Chance for Texas shirts, and you'll see a lot of Pierre style clothing. Now, the reason why I want to focus on that one is, Joc, your whole mission statement for Pierre style clothing is to be inclusive and to involve everybody. It's not just made for one, it's made for many.
Yep, made for many. And that's, like you said, my whole mission statement. Like, I want every color, every religion, creed, ethnic backgrounds, political stances, like you name it, all to actually be rocking, my clothes and feel more comfortable and confident in their own unique skin, because we're all unique. No matter what color we are, we're all dope, and the reason why I chose the parrot is because I don't know if you noticed, but anytime you are near a parrot, it always makes some kind of noise or it's going to do something to get your attention, right? And the funny thing about that is the parrot doesn't really see color. You know what I mean? It's not going to talk to you because like, oh, you're black or you're white or you're Hispanic or whatever. It's still going to like try to make a conversation or do something. And when it actually does that, it gets other people to start talking. You know what I mean? They can be from different backgrounds, but they're not really caring about that because of something that the parrot did. You know, so like, that's why I chose that because, you know, that's very dope to me. And that's what I stand for. Like, hey, let's all have a conversation, you know, without being so mean and negative towards each other all the time, because we live in a world, man, where it's just too much negativity, bro. And like, I know our minds automatically goes there a lot of times, but we got to start just trying to be more positive. I know it's easier said than done, but just try to be positive and uplifting. And so that's what I want my brand to be, you know, just uplifting and that positive piece of apparel, like whatever it is, you know? So, yeah.
Make sure you all check it out. Again, www.therep.network. Merchandise tab, you'll see all the Pierre style clothing. You'll see the new masks on the way. You've also got a couple of things in the works. We'll keep that one quiet for now, but
Yeah,
some heat. You got some heat coming though. I'll just tell everybody that.
I do. I'm excited too, man. I already got a lot of pre-orders already for this joint, you know. So it's crazy, man. I know it's like a broken record, but you know, I really do appreciate and I thank everybody for supporting me because it means a lot, man. I'm finally starting to be able to just do what I really wanted to do because I get it. You know, you have to have regular jobs, corporate jobs to get you, you know, the revenue to do what you truly want to do, you know. But right now I'm seeing like more of the logistical and business side of things, and it's beautiful. You know, it's me growing in like different ways, you know, because once again, 2020, man, it's been a crazy year, but this should be a year of like growth in your own way, you know. So yeah.
All right. With that, we'll jump into our At Me segment. Reminder, this is the Don't At Me podcast. We've got an At Me segment. What is that about? We want you guys to add us. Join the conversation. Give us some combo prompts, some questions, things that you've been wondering, thinking, trying to sort through. You want some other perspectives. This week, we had a pretty good question. Our At Me question for the week is, who cares more about looks, men or women? Now, I love this one because it makes you think. It makes you, again, you might have an initial, oh, of course, like men care more about looks. Women don't care about that. It's like, well, I don't know. And Joc, you were kind of handling the socials, getting all the responses. And kind of like you mentioned earlier, it's actually a little bit more 50-50 on what we got as far as feedback.
It definitely was. And I was surprised by that because once again, in my opinion, I feel like men care about the physical attraction and a woman just cares about the more like emotional and like personality side of things. But, you know, I was wrong, which is it's a good thing, you know, like we're all wrong and stuff. We all still learn. And it just really showed me that it depends on the individual, like more than anything. Like man, woman, doesn't matter. It depends on like what they actually stand for and like their, you know, morals and like what they deem is ethnically like, you know, right or whatever. So yeah, it was really split down the middle, bro. Like it's 50-50, you know. And I'm like, okay, you know, some women said men's, women, you know, and then vice versa. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. And I didn't really get a chance to like reach out to him and ask him like, hey, like, why'd you say what you know, why'd you give the answer that you gave? But, you know, that can be for like another pod maybe one day and just to kind of see like their mind frame from it. But it was very interesting. You know, I'll leave it at that. It was very interesting.
Yeah, you all can shoot us questions on social. We're on Instagram and Twitter at the Rep Network, Facebook at Repertoire TPN. Again, that's going to be our go-to for all of the podcasts within the Repertoire Podcast Network. This one was, you know, particularly interesting to me because conventional wisdom does say men, right? You know, of course, men care more about looks. Men are shallow. Men are dogs. Men are promiscuous. You know, men might step out of their relationship and, you know, have a little fling on the side or something like that. Like all that's conventional wisdom.
Yeah, it's a stigma.
Stigma, 100% stigma. But, you know, you look more at, I mean, I think about when we were in high school versus even now, right? And you think about the societal norms and how things have changed up. I think because of technology, because everything is right here, you know, you can text somebody, you can DM somebody, you can really interact with people ways that we never could. I mean, I remember, you know, I guess middle school, really, like having crushes when I was in middle school. You know, you had to call, you know, you hope that they have their own private line in their room. You call them up, or you're calling mom or dad saying, hey, can you patch me through?
Right.
Or you're doing this, so you talk about writing letters.
Writing letters, yeah, with the check mark. Do you like
that was the best, though. When you had those letters, though, with the swack seal with a kiss, you're like, oh.
Yeah, a little heart.
You know, but I think because of then, you know, you had, it was a lot more difficult. You know, you go on a date, and then that's kind of it. You might call them, and then that's it. Because of technology, you know, you have a date, and then it's, hey, had a great time. And then you're kind of keeping that conversation going, maybe putting your foot in your mouth, you know. But then on the other side of that, huh?
I was like, most of the time you are putting your foot in your mouth.
Quit while you're ahead is usually a good tip to go off of. But, you know, because of that, now you can have a lot more instantaneous communication. The reason why I bring that up, I feel like attitudes about sex have changed greatly over the last 10, 20, you know, I feel like every decade it's exponentially different. And I think that before it was, oh, you know, there's this double standard, guys sleep around, and, you know, women, if they sleep around, they're whores or whatever the case. Not my words. I'm just speaking conventional wisdom, right?
Yep.
Now it's a little bit more of, you know, you look at dating apps. Women can initiate things. You know, if it's Bumble, the ball is all in the woman's court, right?
Right.
And so I guess with that, it makes sexual activity, dating a little bit more easy for everybody. And I think that it also kind of makes sex feel a lot more casual because you can make it happen a lot easier. You know, you can text people, and then all of a sudden, hey, there might be a girl that you see at the gym that you're like, man, I want to talk to her. You know, I'm really interested. You're both single, but you only really get to see her every time you're at the gym, right?
Right,
you know,
right.
Fast forward into our era now, you can always go up to her, get her information, you know, social, phone number, whatever the case. I don't know how you do that because it's so hard. It's so awkward doing that in the gym anyway. But regardless, like now, instead of saying, man, I hope I see that person at the gym the next time, you go up, you get their number or their social media, you can have a conversation with them the second you leave the gym and keep that going.
Right.
You know?
Facts.
Now, bringing this back to the looks thing, I think that looks probably matter less across the board.
I think
you'll see, you know, women I feel like can dress more promiscuously now than they could in the past and get away with a little bit more. I mean, younger people, you know, like how many times you see somebody like, how old is that person? Like, you're dressed like that, right? But it's just, we've all had a lot, like today's era, it's just kind of desensitized the importance of that. And I think the reason why I bring that up is that I feel like looks overall matter less, even though they still obviously matter. But you also have a lot more of that faking your looks and filters and, you know, all of that. So while the looks themselves might matter less in the long term, it does probably matter more in the beginning to kind of reel somebody in. I don't know. Now I'm kind of contradicting myself. Help me work this out, Joc.
No, definitely it matters. And what I was going to say, like, you bring up a good point that initially, you know, like, we have eyes. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. We have eyes. We're not going to want to talk something that's not appealing to, like, what we see. Like, I'm just going to, you know, if that's shallow or not, like, whatever, you guys can at me, but it is what it is. You know, we all, like, have eyes and we see stuff. But what I was going to mention is I noticed that, like, the older you get, looks don't really care as much. Like, you know, it depends on your mature level. And I said it even with myself, like before when I was, you know, a young 18, 19-year-old, all I care about is, man, she got to be a yellow bone. She got to have a fat ass, big titties, you know, all that stuff, right? And now it's like, I don't really care about that, man. Like, you know, it's cool if it's there, but like beauty really is only skin deep. And you realize that the older you get, like, I'd much rather have somebody that's like really into me and really likes me. I know she's going to hold me down, you know, like, the good, bad, whatever. She's not just with me because like I look good solely or like my materials, like my car or house or whatever. You know what I'm saying? The way I dress, like she doesn't care about that. She cares about Jacquees, like, you know, the inside, you know, that people don't really get to see that much unless they really know me, you know? And so, and I'm just thankful, you know what I mean? Like, just realize like, dang, you know, I really grown a lot myself with that. I'm not as shallow anymore with just hey, this person just has to look good, for me to like try to do something like, Now, granted, I know I'm probably gonna sound like I'm contradicting myself as well. You still have like some kind of standard, something, but it's not like that's not the sole purpose of anything, if that makes sense, so.
Right. And yeah, I mean, bringing it back to the initial topic, tribalism, I think looks mattered a lot more in the past, than they do now. They still matter. Again, looks matter, but it's not everything. But I think that tribalism in the past was a lot different because it was more of like, ooh, you're kind of messing around with that person. Like they're not up to the tribe standards,
Right.
whatever the case. Where now I think people are a little bit more, more inclusive overall. It's funny that it's in a way we've become more tribal, yet in a lot of ways more inclusive. I guess that's just kind of an example of us becoming more polarized, right?
Yeah,
There's not a lot, there's a lot of people that are hardcore tribal. There are a lot that are just hardcore, like anything goes. There's not a lot of gray area. Some of the responses that we got on there, a lot of people said, oh, well, men care about looks. Women care about, you taking care of them or providing for them or giving them material and things like that. That was pretty common response, probably all from men themselves thinking within their own group. But, it is interesting, and I think part of the question comes too from, you see a really attractive woman with maybe a chubby guy or something like that. And you're like, how did that happen?
And we see that a lot, and that goes back to what we're saying. Like, hey, they don't really care as much about that, like they really don't, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. It's complex. That's why we've gone back and forth. But I mean, I would say if you ask me who cares more about looks, I would say men a little bit more, just like the everyday average guy. But I also think that's because men are more impressionable. I think that male peer pressure can really dictate who you are a lot more than female peer pressure. So I would say my personal thought, men care a little bit more because I think other men will make some of the weaker men feel worse for not, being up to standard or up to caliber.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. You all tell us, tell us what you think.
You guys tell us. And like my answer to that, I think men for sure, because I know some people I know damn well they don't want to be with that person, but they just keep them around just for the sex or because they look good. But that person may not be as like intelligent as they would like as far as having those deep conversations, but the sex is good, so they keep them around. Versus if it's a woman and the person was attractive and the sex was good, they don't care about that. They're gonna like peace out maybe like once or twice. After a while, you're gonna stop hearing from them slowly. Start ghosting you. So that brings to why I chose the answer I chose, men. So
like I said, you all tell us what you think. Add us, the Rep Network, Instagram and Twitter. Shoot us an email too if you haven't emailed us before. The email address is repertoirenetwork@gmail.com. Shoot us your questions, either your thoughts on who cares more about looks, men or women, or if you have another question entirely. Hey, don't at me. I would like to hear you all chat about this topic. Shoot us an email. We'll check it out. We'll shout you out if the question's good enough. But yeah, definitely join the conversation. And like I said, I think men care a little bit more than women.
We had the other question too. Remember the other one? The stick. What am I saying? Stigma. Stability. I was like, hey, and I didn't say like who. I just asked them. Like our followers, like, what do you care more about? Physical attraction or stability? And that one was 50-50 too. You know what I mean? To like my surprise, like I had a lot of guys that said stability, and I was like, But what I noticed, and it brings me back to like my point that I, made earlier, a lot of those guys that did say stability were a little older, they're our age, versus the young ones who say, oh, physical attraction, so that goes back to that whole maturity thing, which is interesting.
Very good point. Very good point. All right. Closing things out, we've got some leftovers. Before we get into leftovers, one last network plug. Again, this is the Repertoire Network. You know where to find us on social. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, We're on both of those. Of course, YouTube. We're really still trying to crack 100 subscribers so that we can get a custom URL. Right now, we've got question marks, squiggly lines. It looks like a profanity. So subscribe on YouTube, share the word, like, comment, share, subscribe. Get some friends to hop on and subscribe on YouTube as well. Always going to put out content for you all on any or all platforms you listen. So if there's a place that you like to listen to podcasts and somehow you don't find Don't At Me, let us know. We'll make sure that we update that for you so you can listen to whatever methods that you prefer. So,
and also, guys, make sure you're leaving comments too. You know, when you're out watching our videos, listening, like however you can, please leave some kind of comment to like let us know what you think, because that's how we're gonna get better. That's how we're gonna grow. Because I'm not psychic. I don't think you are either, Mike. Are you? Or anybody else, Chance or Gary? So, you know, y'all gotta like talk to us a little bit. You know, join the conversation.
Right. Now, Don't At Me, the name is, you know, hey, this is how we feel. Live with it. You know, don't at me. But it doesn't mean don't actually communicate with us. That's like the funny part, the ironic part about the title of the podcast. But hey, interact with us. Get in the comments. Let us know, like, hey, y'all are full of shit. Here's what I think. You know, fact check us, whatever. Add us, even though we say don't at me. But now for some leftovers. Joc, this one is right in par with really everything we talked about the whole episode. Your thought on R&B guys. I don't want to steal it from you. I'll let you tee it up.
Yeah, so I was actually going to Smoothie King randomly, you know, getting a smoothie. I've been drinking those a lot. And an old song by August Alsina, Chris Brown, and Trey Songz came on. The song is called Love This Shit Remix. And I was listening to it and like thinking like, dang, these niggas are really like shitty. You know, just the stuff they were saying, like, yeah, I'm about to fuck shout you, fuck you, bitch, and you get this dick and this all this stuff. I'm like, wow, these words are like really like not good. Like listen to this, just really listen to like the lyrics. And so it made me start thinking of other stuff like, damn, every R&B dude that I know, new age, are, you know, fuck boys or they're toxic in a way. You know, it's nothing positive that they're actually like saying to women. You know, they really are just like, you know, just belittling them, you know, and like, I'm like, damn, you know, this shit's, it made us me growing up too, just being more mature, but I'm just like, man, you know, I really like just rock to this shit, listen to it. And now I'm like, I can't even really listen to it anymore because I don't really stand for what they're saying, their actual words, you know. I can bring up Party Next Door. Yeah, the beat may be jamming and stuff, but the words, you know, it is basically talking about, you know, fuck you, bitch, fuck you, I'm gonna cheat on you, I'm already cheating on you, you know about it, and I'm telling you, you know, what you gonna do, you still gonna stay around, and you know you love this dick and all this, and it's just, you know, it's not a good look, man, especially being a black man, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, we gotta be more, I don't know, positive. Like back in the day, right? I could bring up Bobby Brown right now. And yeah, he was that bad boy and very sexual, but it still was like love songs, like, hey, I love you, and like, I care about you, and other stuff, but still had that edge on it. Like, you know, new age R&B is just not that at all anymore. It's just like, awesome fuck boy, hey, my money, and that type shit. And I just don't know, like, where that changed, you know, but we got to make R&B great again, man, and not like this toxic shit that people are putting out now, artists, you know. So,
you know, it's funny you mentioned that because I've always been an R&B fan, but I'm way more like 90s, 80s R&B. If you look at the current artists, I guess you'd say Bryson Tiller, not so much Chris Brown anymore, but I mean, Party Next Door, The Weeknd. I mean, there's somewhere in that R&B pop, hip hop genre, you know, somewhere in that, but
kind of say Drake too, kind of. Maybe.
Yeah, sometimes Drake for sure. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of that back and forth, right? But
he's the only one though that doesn't like say like toxic stuff when he's singing. Yeah. I'll give him that, you know.
Yeah, he's usually the opposite, like finessing, and that's the funny thing. So if you look at old, you know, 90s, 80s R&B, it was a lot more finessing. Like Jodeci, my heart belongs to you. You don't hear that shit nowadays. Think about Keith Sweat. Now, who can treat you like me?
Me, nobody. Exactly.
Yeah, you have some of that yelling in there. But it's funny because classic R&B used to be a little bit more about caking and finessing. but I could listen to it way more, and I'm like, man, this shit's like, I like this. This is ideal. This is exactly my kind
Feel
of
good, you know?
You feel love, you know, and like, hey, I know it's controversial because of mans, but you know, R. Kelly, you know, like that, you know, it's all about
hits. He made hits, man. I don't care nobody else. He still made
hits, but it's about love and like, hey,
right.
let's be here for each other. I'm gonna treat you right. And then you fast forward to 2000s, 2010s. I Hit It First. What was the August song that he came out with? Like Entanglement, right? Didn't he just flat out call
even
it
that, exactly, bro. Even that. That's a perfect example. I forgot about that song, Entanglement, you know?
You know, even like Bryson Tiller, like don't, he's talking about basically like that dude treats you like shit, come with me. Like 90s wasn't completely like, you know, guiltless of doing that, but we do that shit a lot more now with music. I feel like there's way more focus on, you know, just fucking getting in and out, and then like, let me steal you from your dude, or like your arm ain't strong enough, like.
Right. And to me, that's the whole point of me saying toxic, because that's just toxic shit that you're bringing. You're trying to be a home wrecker. You know, I don't remember, at least I don't, to my recollection, because I listen to like a lot of 90s R&B now to this day. You know, that's my shit. But I don't remember Jodeci and Joe Silk talking about, hey, I'm gonna steal like you from your man. You know what I mean?
Right.
They say stuff like, you know what? Like Joe, for example, I bring him up. He has a song, All Things Your Man Won't Do, right? He's letting her know, like, hey, you know, like, I know you're with your man. I respect that. But I feel like you can be actually, like, treated a little better, you know, and here's what I would do, like, you know, like, hypothetically, you know, if we're in a situation, but at the end of the day, like, hey, you know, I'm still respecting what you have. Nowadays, nah, it's like, fuck what you have, nigga, and treat you right, come over here and fuck me. I'm not trying to be with you, though. You know, I'm just trying to smash you.
That's the best point.
So
don't get it twisted. It's going to be quick, but, you know.
Yeah, I ain't trying to replace you, man, you know, but it's just crazy, man. You got to stop that shit, because it brings back to, like, other toxic music and artists, like Megan Thee Stallion. I respect her a lot for going to school and working hard and doing what she's doing, but I feel like she's a little toxic too, man. Like, you know, she's providing the wrong messages to like younger women, I feel. Because like, even we talked about it, we have the Reels thing on Instagram now, and all I see on Reels is like little girls like dancing and shit, and I don't want to see that. You know, I'm like, I'm not even following these shit, you know? And so and they're just like Megan Thee Stallion, like WAP and all this shit, and they're like 12 or 13. I'm like, bro, what the fuck is this, you know? And so this brings you back to the whole, kids look up to that shit. They're going to do it just because they feel like, oh, it's cool. And it goes back to tribalism. All the other little friends are doing it, so let me do it too, to try to like fit in with my tribe or this group.
Right. I'm sure, I mean, I guess a lot of it has to do with like the times, you know, sex has become way more casual, and just we're desensitized to.
We're old now.
Yeah. No, we are.
It's like old man now. I'm realizing it now.
I mean, shit, every time this episode comes on, I feel like my hairline's deeper and deeper. So I'm like on that LeBron status. I'm going to start sharpieing that shit across. But
yeah, these grays, they're coming in the bed.
Yeah, man, these grays are plentiful too. Next leftover we had. I'm not sure you had a chance to check out Monday Night Football last week, but new Monday Night Football crew. Brian Greasy, Louis Riddick, Steve Levy from ESPN.
Okay.
They did the late game last week, which was Broncos and shit. Now I forgot. Fact check me. Broncos Titans.
Steelers.
That was so when y'all are listening to this, yeah, it was Broncos Steelers. But first week Monday night, and when everybody's listening to this, you know, we got Monday Night Football coming up. I like the new crew. I guess that's the point I'm getting to. I like the new crew. We had, you know, Joe Tessitore and Booger and Jason Witten for a year, and then
Booger and those fingers.
Yeah. He did, like, that was the show. Like every 30 minutes, like, hey Booger, the audience is bored. Show your hands again. Like, oh, look at this, you know, like. But I really liked it. Brian Greasy, I like having a guy that played, you know, especially like quarterback position, because they see so much more of the field. I'll say, you know, Booger, I think he's a good football mind, and I think he's a good analytical mind. He just couldn't really demonstrate that, you know, like he couldn't really put that into words. So no knock on him and his knowledge, but he wasn't great as a commentary guy. Lou Riddick, former player and very much front office candidate. You know, he's always in conversations for GM roles that open up. So he's got experience both playing and analyzing, you know, what matters in players and, you know, the X's and O's. And then you've got ESPN Steve Levy, you know, the guy that's just going to be your highlight guy, throwing out phrases and sayings, connecting pop culture to it. But I thought it flowed pretty well. It was only 1 week in. I'm not saying that that's, you know, Al Michaels and John Madden, but compared to where we were last year, I'd say it's like night and day difference.
Compared to like the Witten days. But no, seriously, man, that actually makes or breaks a game, like how it's being commentated on, you know. People are calling the wrong plays or like the wrong names, you know, that throws shit off. It's like, you know, that wasn't him that scored the touchdown, or it wasn't him that got the first down, or that's not like a out route, or, you know, like, what are you saying? You know, like, you don't really know what you're talking about. So that just makes you not as into the game because you want them just to shut up and not talk so you can like watch the game. But to your point, when everything's flowing like well, it gets you more hyped and more like in the game because they're calling out stuff that you probably didn't even see. That's the whole point of commentation too. They're supposed to like call out things that we can't see, you know, because you guys are the experts. So I definitely agree, man. That game was a little bit different, and that's why, because, you know, you have a newer cast now. So, you know, it's positivity. Once again, I'm trying to spread that like more, and I feel like it's going to be a better like season because of that.
I will say this too. While I backed Brian Greasy and having quarterbacks on the call, they also seem to just fall off a cliff at one point. Like Phil Simms 2-3 years ago, replaced by Romo because he just became awful, you know, and like 3rd and 15. Yeah, this is a tough one for them. You know, they got to get a first down here, or, you know, like stating the obvious.
Basic shit. Yeah.
Or just saying things that, like, when they start sounding like they're not following the games, they're just saying things that people will say without actually watching. You know, for example, this one might be controversial, but Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, I feel like Troy Aikman might be kind of doing that over the hill thing. And the reason why I say that, last week was the Bucs Saints game. Yeah. And look, I'm pulling for Brady. I'm pulling for the Bucs, but he's saying all these things to make me feel good about myself and the team. That doesn't reflect what's happening on the field. You know, the Bucs playing sloppy ball. Brady isn't connecting with everybody. You know, doesn't have that consistency, that familiarity yet. Right. And he's just like, yeah, you know, Joe, this game is not going well, but, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if this team is in there in the NFC conference game, you know, finals. Like, yeah, I get all that. Like, I'm hoping and thinking that too, but tell me what's happening on the field. You know, well, you know, Brady really working with this Scotty Miller guy. It's like, you're just stating the obvious, man. Tell me,
like,
you know, where the defense is breaking down, or tell me why they scored there, or why they got the first down, like what happened, where, you know, like, give me the insights.
Right. And to me, that goes back to, like you said, you're kind of fanboying a little bit, or because who it is Brady. Like, oh, it's Brady, so I can't talk shit about Brady, but it's not talking shit. You're just stating facts. He's playing terrible. Even Arian said, you know, when he had the post interview, like, yeah, Brady gotta do better. You know what I mean? Like, we can't. I don't care who you are. I know you're the GOAT, but still, I'm gonna treat you like I treat everybody else. You have to do that. You can't put people on a pedestal so much. And I think sometimes, you said with Trey, man, you put people on a pedestal just based on their accolades, and that's not really fair because they're not calling the game correctly. That's in front of us. You know, so definitely.
100%, man. The other part that was interesting, so we had, you know, Greasy, Riddick, and Levy. Then they had Kirk Herbstreit and Fowler, you know, the college guys covering the first game. The reason why I bring the college guys up, Big Ten coming back. So we talked a couple weeks ago about Big Ten football, just saying no, you know, let's not do it. But, you know, some of the arguments I had is why? Like, is that like canceling football? Why? Like, you've still got campus life. You still got all these college kids probably just going out partying, doing shit anyway. You look at the NFL, knock on wood, there haven't really been a ton of cases. I think the case count has been far below 1%. Right. College football has been similar. You know, when you put people on the field, their odds are they're not going to transmit it on the field. You do the constant rapid testing. Somebody has it, you know, hey, let's set you out for a couple of weeks. Get, you know, everybody else in that's healthy. It seems like it makes sense. Like, you can find ways to make football happen. the craziest part about the Big Ten saying that they weren't playing football was high school football in Ohio was going. Some colleges in Ohio were still playing football, but the NFL, Browns, Bengals, but the team people care the most about in Ohio is Ohio State, and they were the one team not playing.
Yep.
So
the one team.
Now with the announcement, they're confirming plans to return to football week before Halloween, so they'll have daily rapid testing for those involved. The schedule was announced, and the reason why they also wanted to make it happen right when they did was so that they could still qualify for the college football playoffs. I'm not the biggest college fan, but this is important, I feel like, to mention it. So, look, we said all along, we thought, or at least, I felt like they could have just made it happen anyway. Mm-hmm. Now it looks like, hey, money is talking. Now they're saying, shit, we got to get sports going. So, I don't know. I see you talking about the money. Is that what you think this is all about, Joc?
Well, also, I think it's about the money for sure. That's why people flip-flop, because, you're got big pockets that people are paying for this, big corporations. Also, it goes back to what we were talking about, tribalism, groupthink. Everybody else is playing now. Everybody else is doing it. Shit, we should do it too, because we're one of the top schools. They weren't really thinking for themselves, because my thing is COVID is going down, but the shit, it's not disappear. It's still here. You know what I mean? It's still a chance that you still can affect your players in the long run, because we still don't know shit about how it's going to affect everybody in the long run, Right. And so that goes to show me just how selfish everybody is, once again, the money and the tribalism. Hey, monkey see, monkey do. Let's just do what our tribe and everybody else is doing, not think for ourselves. So that's why I think they're doing it, because of what the world is doing too, other football teams or college teams, excuse me.
Right. And I can understand some apprehension, hey, let's try to get some data. Let's watch what the NFL does before we jump the gun and run in. I understand that, but
right.
It does feel like, A, the money is talking, because it always talks the loudest. B, monkey see, monkey do. Everybody else is doing it. Why don't we do it? Let's hop on board. Those are the two biggest things to me that kind of makes it – look, I'm sure college football fans are happy Big Ten is coming back. That's an obvious, right? But, the thought process behind it just kind of seemed predictable and disingenuous. Just, hey, come out the gates, play.
Right.
Now it's people are thinking greed and money and green talking the most. And, it seems like that's probably true. That was probably the loudest thing that was in the room at the time, was talking about the money and the dollar figures.
And Mike, you bring up a good point. And I want to ask you this question too, because it's something that I've been confused about. But didn't they say it's not going to be any fans hardly, and it depends on the actual stadium? I'm not seeing that. That's why I'm bringing up, because every game that I've been watching, I'm seeing fucking fans there. The Cowboys, you brought up earlier, that's the most fans that I've seen so far. Just out there, just woo, cheering and booing. And so I don't think that's setting a good message, man. If I'm being honest with you, people are seeing all these people in the crowd. College football's coming back, and the same type thing. Us regular people are going to think, okay, this shit went away. We're good now. We can do whatever. Even at the gym, right? I was on Instagram, and I saw people in there working out kind of close to each other with no mask, and you can tell they didn't come together. They're just working on the machines. But I already see that happening, and that's why I bring up NFL and college football doing that. That's not helping the case, So
yeah. It's and that's kind of the problem across the board. I know the whole thing has been think outside of yourself and think big picture here. And I know that life is very much nuanced, right? It's gray area. It's something in between. The problem that we're seeing with COVID is that everybody has had a very different response. That's kind of something you can't be very gray on. You have to say, look, this is what we believe. This is what we're pushing, because they're two competing philosophies, right? It's either, hey, COVID's a big deal. We need to take it seriously. Or COVID's not a big deal. Fuck it. Let's just go out and be all out in public and whatever. Problem is you have both, right? You've got too much mix. I mean, like we just said, Cowboys stadium was full, not full, but, relatively speaking, pretty fucking packed.
It was 21,000 people there.
Yeah. NRG empty, right? It's this, case by case. Look, I get you want to go case by case and be smart about it, but at some point you're creating competitive disadvantages competitive advantages that aren't uniform across the league. Cowboys had a home field advantage. Texans today had no home field advantage. Like, that seems wrong to me. You got to say we're either going all or nothing. You know, like that's one case I'm very much about. Hey, case by case in the middle. With something like this, hey, it's this or that. Like, choose where you stay and stick with that. You know, that's where I feel the one time I'll say be black and white is when it comes to pandemics, comes the home field advantage. You know, both those things, both together and mutually exclusive, you have to make a decision, one or the other.
Be uniformed, exactly, because even with the Ravens, they didn't have any fans either when they played. You can't pick and choose what teams just so you want stuff to be somewhat normal again. Fuck what people think, man. You gotta. We're always gonna want the worst, or always want what we can't have. You know, if you're saying like, oh, we can't have fans in this stadium, or when football resumes again, no fans. People are gonna, you know, petition and bitch and complain about that. But who cares? Like, y'all doing this for the safety of your actual players. That's y'all's investment. You know, like, I think they're trying to appease too much to like what other people think. You know, when I say people, the fans once again. But yeah, so for me to just mention that number again. So the exact number in Cowboy Stadium today was 21,000. Wow, it was almost 22,000 actually, bro.
So I think it's about a quarter capacity, but still, I mean, 20,000, that's a good attendance for a Tampa Bay Rays game.
Yeah, that's a lot.
COVID, you know?
That's a lot of people, bro. Yeah, 21,700, 800. Yep. But that's almost 22,000. But the point I'm making is with that many people at a crowd stadium, I'm sure they're selling drinks and they're trying to sell merch because it's all about money, right? You cannot tell me, bro, that people aren't taking off their masks like at some point. You know what I mean? Just like whatever, or walking out down with it. When I actually went to I went to the mall yesterday for the first time, surprisingly, you know, because I wanted to smell this cologne. And bruh, you know, I feel like I've been living under a rock, man. People just, it's capacity. Like, everybody's there, you know, and I see people wearing the masks like below their nose, just walking around. I'm just like, God damn, lady, I chew sneezing and shit, bro. Like, I'm seeing everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know. So it's just very mind blowing, like seeing it in person. You know, I was trying to be in and out, but just it's interesting, man. It really is, you know. So
we've come a long way this year, but we still got a long way to go.
Way to go. Be smart about stuff. That's all I say.
Be tactful. And speaking of being smart about things, we're going to wrap things up today. So be smart and subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Like Joc said, make sure you comment, give us some feedback, let us know what you think, join the conversation. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Check us out on social media. You know, we're here every Monday. Don't at me. Episode 49 coming next week. And Joc, one more time before we close out, give everybody a shout out with Pierre Style Clothing.
Yeah, man. So, you know, you can find it on the Rep. You know, also, you know, my own website as well, pierrestyleclothing.com. Got some new heat coming, like Mike said. I'm not going to mention it too much right now. I just want you guys to like actually see it. I'm going to be doing some giveaways as well, but only for the ones that's actually commenting and like interacting with us. So trust me, if you are constantly interacting with us, commenting, we're going to see you. You know what I mean? We don't have much of that right now anyway, so we're going to notice you. So just do that. You know, you be in for a surprise. We'll try to shoot you a DM or like email you or something to let you know like, hey, we randomly chose you as one of our giveaway winners. But yeah, just keep doing that, man. You know, just constant, you know, just interacting with us. You know, I do what I'm doing. We all do what we do for you guys. You know, like the podcast is for you. My clothing line is for you. The Rep merch is for you. It's all for you. You know, so just keep that in mind.
Check us out. Like I said, episode 49 coming next Monday. Subscribe, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe, etc. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Damn, that was a good one.